I offer you a toast. In this video, we're going to make Toast UI like this using Unity 3D. Start off with creating a script called Toast. So we're going to make a static instance of this. And then in the awake function, we assign it. So the objects that are going to appear in the world, we want to make a separate class for so that we can easily instantiate and assign variables. And we're going to call it Toast UI. So with the Toast UI, we want a timer so that it'll remove itself. We'll kind of call it removal timer. Reference for the instance because we want to be able to reference it in the scene. And we also want reference to the rect transform. Then after that, I want to make an enumerator. So what this is going to do is when the toast is created, the timer is going to start right away. So it'll remove itself after a certain amount of time. And you're going to need to add this library to gain access to the enumerator. Okay, this is where we're actually going to wait the removal timer. And then this is where we're going to remove it. We're going to have two functions. One is going to show the toast, and the second one's going to remove it. And in the show function, we want a message that we're going to pass in. And I want a removal timer that I'm going to pass in. And by default, we're going to leave it as 3. And then we want to add a remove. And in the remove, we're just going to pass in the Toast UI. Go up here, and we're going to call that remove function. So that'd be toast.remove. And then we're going to pass in this. Also going to need a prefab that we're going to want to create from. And we're going to want to store all those toasts that are appearing in the world. So we're going to use a list for that. We're going to call this Toast Prefab. And then I'm going to do a list of Toast UI. Oh, and you have to make this a float, the removal timer. All right. So in the show class, I'm going to instantiate a new Toast UI. And then we're going to assign the variables. So this is going to equal the removal timer that's going to be passed in. And I want the instance to be an instantiation of the Toast prefab that we're going to create later. We also want to assign the rec transform. So that would be the Toast UI instance, and then use a get component. And I want all Toast objects, when they appear, to parent themselves to this script, or to this object where the script is. Now we want to start the timer for the toast. And because this is a static function, we got to use that instance, and then we're going to add that Toast UI to the new list. So now we're going to have to import TextMesh Pro. And I want to update the message, so we're going to do a rec instance, and we're going to get the component. In the child, and then it'll be text equals the message getting passed in. And I'm going to change this to the Toast UI because in case we want to modify it after it's created. I want to return it. Now, as Toast UI are created, they stack with each other. And in order to get that stacking to happen, we're going to need to create a function called sync. And what that'll do is it'll check the position of each transform. And depending on if some toasts are removed, some toasts are added, it'll make everything align appropriately with the parent.
We're making this an enumerator because later in the video, we're going to incorporate an animation, and I want to be able to wait for that animation to finish. But this could also be a void.
So after the toast is added, we're going to go ahead and call the sync function. We're going to grab the first toast that exists on the list. And if it equals null, it means we've reached the end of the list, and we can go ahead and break out of this. We want the toast to appear at a certain anchor point on the parent, and then it'll stack going downward. And then the spacing, we need a variable for spacing so we can space them accordingly like a vertical grid. So we're going to take this information and make sure that they stack when we update it. So we're starting at what position, and then we're taking the height into consideration, and we're going down the list. Using an index, we're going to need to make sure we have that index here, and we're going to start at 0, so we can increment. And we want to increment. And with the remove function, destroy the instance of the toast and then remove it from the list. And then we'll call a sync right after that. So if it equals null, we're going to return. And we're going to remove from the list. And then we're going to call sync. So first we're going to create a new UI canvas, and it's just going to be the overlay, and I'm going to make an empty parent that this is where the toasts are going to go on. I'm going to call it toast. So to create the Toast UI prefab, what I'm going to do is start off by creating an image. So go to UI, image, and then inside that image, we're going to make a text, and so that'll be the message. So I'm going to call this message. And I'm going to call this Toast UI. And I'm going to go ahead and just change a couple variables. We're going to use just a UI sprite. And the message is going to be wrapped inside that. So if you hold down Alt, you can expand it so it's the size of the toast. I'm going to change the color to something I can see. And I'm going to add some, update these to add some margin for the text. Actually, I want to make this 300. All right, so if I drag this on to the prefabs folder, it'll make a new prefab, and then we can use this to assign to our toast script. So assign the toast script here to this object. And then drag on your toast UI. I want this to have a image component on it because I want to have a mask that covers. So we don't want too many of these toasts to appear beyond the mask. 500. And we're gonna make this the size of the toast. And I'm gonna bring this over. Hold down Alt and click this Alt anchor button right here, and it'll bring it to the left side of the screen. And we're gonna turn off mask to remove. We don't want this. We don't want to see it. Okay. Okay. So I created a new script called Toast Demo, and to test this, what I'm going to do is on the input button. So on the key up B, we're going to call the toast. We're going to add it. So toast dot show. So this will create a Toast UI that says test, and by default, it's going to remove itself after 3 seconds. So in Unity, we're going to add the, we're going to create an empty object, call it Toast Demo. And we're going to add the Toast Demo script to this. So now when I load up my scene and I click B, a toast will be generated on the left-hand side. Now you can tell that they appear and it stacks, and they remove too, but the offset is off. So we got to go ahead and modify that. Okay, so the offset is wrong because our anchor is off. So go ahead and get your prefab and hold down Alt and hit the top left anchor right there. Make the Y 0. And if I start the project again, now it looks like our Y position, our starting Y position is wrong, because if you look at the first toast, it's starting up above here and I can't see it. So if I move this down to about here, that's at -40. So let's go ahead and modify the starting Y position of our toast to -40. So let's start it up again. And I'm going to hit B a couple times. And now I can see my toast. And then there's remove every 3 seconds. So what if you want the toast to only remove on, say, a callback? Like, you want it to appear, but you don't want it to disappear until something happens, like a button is pressed or there's a flag that sets it off. We can go ahead and create a callback that removes it, and so the start timer will wait until that callback happens. So on the Toast UI component, we're going to add a removal callback, and we're going to start off by creating the public delegate. We're going to call this on remove, and we're going to add a remove callback here. So in the start timer, while on remove callback, so while it's not null, so if we have it and the removal callback is false, we're going to wait by adding this wait for frame. So once this flag is set to true through the callback, then we'll go ahead and do the removal timer, and then we'll remove it. And then we want to add this removal callback to the show function. And by default, it's just going to be null. And then don't forget to assign it. So to see in action, what you could do is, in my Toast Demo UI, I'm going to create a Boolean to say show toast. We're going to start with false. And in this same function, we're going to pass in the timer. but then now we're going to pass in a delegate, and we got to return this Boolean. So what this is going to do is this is going to stay on the screen until this Boolean gets set to true. Once it's set to true, it's going to remove it. So you'll see my little show toast Boolean. Hit play in the scene. So when you hit B a couple times, you'll see the toast. And notice that they're not removing right now. Like, notice nothing's happening. Now go ahead and click on the show toast flag, and they should remove after 3 seconds. So I click it, and now after 3 seconds, they'll be removed. So that's how you could introduce a callback.
To add an animation to your Toast UI prefab, click your prefab, go to Add Component, and then Animation, and then drag the prefab onto that Toast empty game object in your scene, and make sure it's still selected. Then go to Window, Animation, Animation, click the Create button, and then add the animation to any folder you want in your scene. I have one called Animations, and I'm going to call it Open. Then I'm going to hit the Record button, and we want to click to add the property. So go to the Rect Transform, and I want to change the anchor position. Then I'm going to hit this plus button. And the first keyframe is going to be, if I go over here to the X, I want it to go to the left. So I'm going to make it -50. And then the last keyframe, this one right here, will stay at 150. So if I click play, it'll move like this. That's going to be the opening animation. So I turn this cord off, and then let's make a close animation. If I do the same thing, create a new clip. I'm going to name this close. And also we're going to add a property, go to Rect Transform and anchor position. Hit the record button. This time around, we're actually going to start at 150, but we're going to end at -50. Yeah, if you hit play here, you'll see that it moves backwards. And open, when I hit play, it'll go forward. So turn off the recording. Make sure that the position Y on the anchor has been removed. So we don't want to use that property. We only want to use the X. And make sure this one is also removed. X out of this. Make sure that your animations have been assigned to the animation component on your Toast UI. So the opening one will actually be the first one that'll occur by default, and then we'll have to call this in a script. And notice that the animation hasn't been assigned to the prefab. So to assign it to a prefab, just right-click the one in your scene, then go to Prefab and Open Asset in Context. Then we're gonna make 2 animations here, and then drag on the animations that you want. So Open one will start here. Oh, whoops. Okay, delete these ones. Okay, so Open will start, then hit the plus button and assign the Close animation. And then click this little button right here to get out of that prefab edit mode. And now you'll see that in the Toast UI prefab that the animation has been assigned. So to call the close animation, we're going to want to have a reference to the animation component. So I'm going to add this to the Toast UI class. Call it Toast animation. And then in the show, we're going to assign it. And then after assigning it, in the remove, we're gonna call the animation. And it's gonna be the one we named it, which is close.
In the sync function, I added a delay.
And since we made the animation about 1 second long, we want to make sure that we don't destroy it for about 1 second. And with the delay, we want to also make that 1 as well. So when I run the scene and hit B a couple times, it'll make the Toast UI, and then they'll remove themselves after a little bit. Hey everyone, if you found this video helpful and you learned something, please let me know. Put any questions or comments down below, and I appreciate you watching this video. Have a good one.